Start off by marking up the US30, just because this is the pair that has been moving so much lately, and I think that it might have had a primary low on Elliott wave count, and I'll show you exactly what I mean once this loads. So we're going to go onto a single screen. I'm going to go ahead and X out of this one here. I'm going to go on a single screen here. This is not the one I want. There it is. Okay, perfect. So with the chart here, we have noticed quite a few very, very special things as my whole chart loads in. Here we go. Now we have the full count and everything. I'm not sure why that took so long to load, but now we have everything set up. So I adjusted this before. That's a shame it didn't save. I hope it didn't. Okay, it didn't save, but that's too bad. No worries. But basically, what happened was this became the new low. We had a new low on the US30 since last week. So let me just adjust these really quickly, and then we'll get straight into it. So the reason why this is important is just to show you how big. Let me go ahead and delete all this too. How big of a movement this was, how important this movement was. All right, so yeah, this is all over here still. Essentially, we had the primary wave has moved and not the intermediate wave. So this low that has happened recently, I really strongly believe this is actually the primary two. And let me explain why I think this. So if I get a new chart going, an ABC, we all know that after a 5-wave structure, we like to see an ABC pattern. However, what I thought was the A before, I still think it's the A, but I think that there is a subdegree right here of the A. Again, you can subdegree this again from this B as well, but this is going to be 2 degrees down from primary, also known as minor. So this is the minor wave that ended right here, or actually it should be on the next one, on this one here. And basically, what I was seeing is no longer valid. This used to be valid. I'll go ahead and delete all of this so we can get a really, really clear idea of exactly what's going on within the markets. This is really, really important. It's a little bit of a tedious process to do, but that's all right. So this one should be here. And then we have the C down here eventually. And this C is not the minor C. This is the intermediate C. So again, just a quick refresher of how exactly wave counts work. We have a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern, and among each 3 to 4, there's an ABC pattern. Among each 1 to 2, there's an ABC pattern, and basically the idea is somewhat of fractals, and you're able to subdivide charts multiple times like that. So as you can see, we had the 1. And then going over to the 2, it was very, very shallow. So what does this mean in the future? And I am going to explain a lot more why I think this is a 2. Just hold on off on that for a second. Basically, the 3 up here should now be a little bit higher up, just because it's been taking even longer to form. And basically, whenever this 4 forms, because it's even more sideways movement, it should be even steeper now. All right, so again, 5-wave structure, much too early to even predict that. It just should be above the 3. That's pretty much all that we know. It could even just peak above the 3, but so just putting it there as a temporary placeholder. So what is this jumbled mess over here, and why is this important? Well, first of all, let's make sure that we did everything correctly. That's really, really important. So from this B, this is the intermediate wave B. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and redo all this. So I can show you exactly what I'm thinking with this. I'm going to have to press delete key quite a lot of times because I don't want everything deleted. I just want all of this deleted. I can do this relatively quickly. Almost done, just a couple more. And we're gonna go ahead and delete this as well. All right, so from this intermediate wave B wave here, we're gonna have a substructure or another ABC pattern from the B that ends at the C. Again, the C I put it way down here, but it's actually all the way up here. And the reason why I put down so far is so that we can have all the C's stack up on top of each other in the correct order. So I am going to leave them all in this form for now, but I am going to be changing these into the correct degrees all at the same time after they're all marked up. So let's see here. This one's a little bit tough because I want to have an ABC wave inside of it, inside this wave. So I could put it here, but I don't love that. I do like it here though. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this point. And then put this C here. So that was the minor wave, was this one that I just touched, this one here. Again, I haven't changed them yet, but this one will be the minute wave. And then now we're gonna make the minuet wave. So it's gonna be a 0, A, B, C. So the C goes down here, and that's where the A goes on the smaller structure. And then we can go up to this point here. Once we're there, we're going to have another C, of course, as per usual. And then we can make yet another one. By the way, we want to make sure that the B's are always being lower and the A's are also being lower. Otherwise, this doesn't work out. So let's make another 0 and an A, a B, and finally a C. And this should be subminuet. So this should be all the way down to the very lowest of the original 9 Elliott wave degrees. Let's make sure we did it correctly. So again, we already have the intermediate. That's this upper B up here. So we're going to have to change all of these. This one should be a minor. This one should be a minute. This one should be a minuet. And lastly, this one should be a subminuet. And basically, that is the last one that you can see on this time frame. That does not mean that there's not a smaller one. In fact, I think that there is a smaller one if you are able to go onto a very, very small time frame. But we're using the 1 hour chart, and I think this is good enough for general structure. So the last thing to do is make sure that our C's all stack up and look really, really nice. So let's go ahead and do that just to make everything look very, very good on our structure. So this just so happened to work so nicely. And since this last C wave here, we have now already seen price move up and break the B on its first initial upward movement, and has even gone up higher after that as well. So no, my computer is not freezing. I'm not sure why that would be happening. Sorry to hear that. So from this last C structure here, now we should have on the same exact degrees, we should be able to count up in the reverse, but this time with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern. So let's get the 5-wave structure, the impulse wave. And I like to do it from the actual points. This is not required. You can definitely use it from the beginning as well. And let's just see how exact this would pan out. So I see this as the 1. And again, we want to see an ABC structure in between this. So we have the 0, the A, the B, and the C. So in my opinion, really, really nice 1 and 2 wave. After this 2 wave, we now want to see an impulse. So of course we do that. We do see that right here. Really, really nice. And we're going to put the 3 up here, at least for now. Again, this could be changed. This might not be the actual 3, but that is where we're going to put it just for the moment being. That's as high as we see more price develop, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So from this 3, where are we going to put the 4? Well, we have a 0, an A, a B, and a C right here. That's what I'm seeing so far, but I could have this wrong. Just an example of where I could have this wrong is this 3 here. Could be the 0 again, with the 0, the A, and all this, because it didn't make a new low here, all this can still be on the B wave up. So we could still be forming the B, which would then require us to move the 4 to wherever the real C is on one degree below this one. But if this is correct, it's hard to say at this point. It hasn't shown yet. But all we know is that the 4 cannot come below the 1. And so far, that's been fantastic, hasn't broken yet, and we're good to go still. And so lastly, we want to see the 5. The 5 must come above the 3. If it does not, it's called a truncation or a failed structure. And that's not something that we want. So you should never expect a truncated fifth. It does happen once in a while. It's not part of the Elliott wave rules. It's part of the extreme tendencies, such as that when wave 2 is horizontal, wave 4 tends to be much, much more vertical. And that is what we have seen here. As you can see, wave 2 is very, very horizontal. Wave 4 is much, much more relatively vertical than wave 2. So far, following all the rules and the tendencies. So this is a very, very possible structure. Just keep that in mind. This might not be the actual 4. We might need to change that. And this 3 might not even be the actual 3, but everything else so far should be accurate. What else can we expect? Well, let's try and find a little bit more accurate place for our 5. Now, we don't know where it is, but again, we can use tendencies. So what I'm going to do to use tendencies, I'm going to go from the 0, from the last C here, all the way up to the 1. And there we go. So from the 1, we generally see the 3 happen around the -618. And that is exactly what we saw here. So really, really good. Another tendency has another check mark on it. So what we can do now is move this up to the 3rd wave. And essentially, most of the time, the 5-wave structure will happen on Elliott wave, not Elliott wave, algo target 1, which again, just to refresh your memory, is -236. So that is where I'm predicting approximately, not exactly, the 5th wave structure to be. Does that mean you should be selling at the 5? That is a really good question. If you would have that question in your mind, that's the way you should be thinking. However, I would say no, I wouldn't be selling at the 5, and the reason why is because we're using this small sub-minuet structure. This is, look how many more structures we still need to fill before we get to the 3. So we are nowhere near the primary 3. So again, as long as the C does hold up, which again, very, very nice double bottom, very, very nice 1-hour candle. We can go on a couple other time frames, like the 2-hour, and see if we see anything there, as well at the C point. And want to see if we can find any other signs of this being a nice bottom. Again, to a 2-hour, also very nice. Let's jump up to the 4-hour. I'm not going to cover all of them necessarily to not show you all the hour points. It's just that that's not necessarily. I'm just going to show you the most important hour points. So now on the 4-hour, we now see the first sign of a this is called a tweezer bottom. It's essentially where it's not a perfect tweezer bottom, but it is still a tweezer bottom. It's because the next door candles have the same wick length. I'm not with wick length, but the same wick stop. It'd be nicer if they had the same wick length, which must be a red candle, which has a lower point, a lower wick, excuse me, and then the next candle would have to be a green candle that would have the same exact bottom wick, and so there would be approximately similar size. That is an ideal tweezer bottom. I would still consider this a tweezer bottom though. So really, really nice, even on the 4-hour structure as well. Let's go on to the daily structure, and let's see if we can find any other signs on the daily as well of the price actually being a reversal sign exactly where it is and has been for this nice C-wave structure over here. So as this loads, it's taking a rather long time to load. There we go. And now this is exactly what I was sharing you. And I didn't know this was going to be here, so I did say that preemptively on purpose. Let me turn off all the noise so you can see it's a little bit clearer. Certain brokers will have this a little bit closer than others. They are just a little bit off, but it's so minuscule, I would definitely still count these as tweezer bottoms on the daily. for sure. These are practically ideal tweezer bottoms. So what is happening now? So this candle that has just started forming has many, many more hours for it to finish forming. It'd be nice if it counted down from all over here, but unfortunately, because it's so far out, it's not going to count down for us. We do want to see price continue to go up. In fact, if it'd be very, very nice for within 3 daily candles for it to come up above this point here, within 3 daily candles. So that's by the end of the week. But by the end of the week, we should see price come to above this point here. And this would just be 3 candles overshadowing 1 red candle. This is a fairly important structure to be absolved. And I want to show you a really, really good, actually I should, maybe I should have stayed on the daily so I can mark that point actually. I want to mark the point that we should expect it to overlap or to pass on the daily before we break it down into the smaller time frames. So I was switching, so we have to wait for this to load again. So once this does load, I'm going to put a gray line right here. So we have the gray line way up there, and it's the only gray line on the chart now. So we're going to go back onto the 1-hour chart. Once we're on the 1-hour chart, I do want to see a full, longer possible markup. So because we already are on the potential 5th wave, the last wave, hopefully, on the sub-minuet structure, or the smallest of the original 9-wave Elliott wave structure denoted by Ralph Nelson Elliott, we can now assume approximately where our 1 wave should be on the next higher one. Of course, this is the minuet degree. So wherever our 5-wave structure is exactly where our 1-wave structure should be on the next higher time frame up. And then also, we also know approximately where our 2-wave structure should be on the sub-minuet, or excuse me, the minuet wave. And that should be around the 4. That's where 2 will be for the higher degree. So let me just place these here to as a temporary placement. And not to say at all that this is going to be accurate. I do not think that these prices will be here. But what price is your gray line at? So that's a good question. So that would be at the 25,942 on the 01 to chart. And if you look at our algo target, this is also our algo target 2 from the 3rd wave structure up. So that's really, really nice that we also see that. So there's a couple possibilities of certain ways that I could have drawn this incorrectly, and you do want to keep those in mind as you continue to look at the chart. All of which, not to worry, are all good signs if you are in the buy position on the US30. A different possible count that you could assume is accurate as well is we could even assume that the 1st wave structure is as small as here. Sometimes on the US30, the 2nd wave, I don't know why it moved back like that. This 2 is extremely close to the 1, and this could count as our 1st wave structure, and this 3rd count could even be something that looks really, really ugly like this. The 4 could be either here or here, depending on how close you're trying to go onto the charts. And then our 5th wave structure could even end here. So this could even be the end of our 1st degree. So now we have 2 different places, 2 different ideas of what could be happening on the chart. And question is, what is algo 2 in fib reading? So algo target 2 is again at the -618. And as you can see on the daily, that would be exactly where this is over here. So on our alternate count, excuse me, we would have something along the lines of this. This could be our 2, or we could even, again, this could just be the A and still forming the B. So we could again have a different B, a B that finishes a little higher, and then a C that finishes maybe even a potentially a little lower. Technically, it should finish around this level here, which is around the 618, which is very, very normal for that to happen as well. Around the 618 is a common reversal point. So this alternate count also is pretty likely. If this does happen, again, this would make a lot of sense as well, because if this is our one wave structure where our 5 is here, our third wave structure is approximately usually at the second algo target, at our 618 as a negative. And if that's happening, that would be a common reversal point for our 3 to end there. So this is a very, very likely count as well. From that, I would expect the 4 to be lower, but not break the 1. Again, it cannot come down as far as here. If it did that, then we have to adjust something on the charts. And then the 5th wave structure would have to come up even higher. So this is also an alternate count. So either way, as long as you're in it for the long term, either one of these two counts that we've had so far are both good for being bullish. So basically, what I might even do is, if price does decide to make a little bit higher of a B, and we do see some downward movement, and we are expecting the C structure to finish around the 618, it might even be a good idea, once price is maybe broken around the 382 level, that would be somewhat of a confirmation that we're going to form a C wave even lower. I might even make a buy limit around the 618 personally. Doesn't this make wave 3 shorter than 1? On this count, on the sub minuet, it's definitely not. The 1 is extremely small on this one. On the second one, on the minuet wave, again, it is okay for the first wave to be larger than the third, as long as the 5th wave is shorter than the third. So either the 5th or the first or both has to be shorter than the third. Usually, but this when I say usually, it's only about 60 to 70% of the time. The third wave is the longest. So on our alternate count here, the third wave is definitely not the longest. The 5th wave is, but on our original count, the third wave would be the longest. So it is up to you to determine what exactly that means. And there's different ways to count this. We could be going into more detail to really try and figure this out by going on to even smaller degrees than even the sub minuet. These are not part of the original 9 Elliott wave degrees, but they are the micro, the sub-micro, and the minuscule waves. If you did want to look at those, we would have to go into a smaller time frame, and generally the rules still work out for those. During my other live sessions, where I'm more marking up the price when I am seeing something, maybe a possible entry, a lot of times I will use those for to try and get the extra confirmation. But because we're not even close to any point where I would even consider getting out nor into any trade with this chart, because of that, I do not want to actually place a trade with this by going on to the smaller degree and time frame. So there's really no point in doing that just yet. But again, if price does break the 3.2, especially breaks the 50 as well, then I'm definitely going to be paying attention and try and get a really, really nice entry around the 618 is where the 2 should be, if this is just an A. So I can make this really, really clear. We can denote an A, a possible count for right now. So I'll show you the 2 main possible counts for this, and I am going to use the same degree because because it is for the same. It's already on the right one. Because it is for the same count. So basically, there's 2 possibilities. Both of these A's are here, and the B could not even be formed yet. The B might even be all the way up here, and the C could form all the way down here at the 618, and that's where we might want to get our entry in. No, I have not even taken partials out of this trade yet, because this is hopefully a primary 2. Again, a primary 2, let's just go on to a really, really high time frame, or at least like the week, so you can really get a good idea, a really good sense of what is going on with the primary waves. So now each candle is 1 week long. This is all garbage down here, but you can still see where the bottom is. I am expecting this week to finish with a green candle. I do think it will be a small green candle at this point in time. I do think it'll be somewhat of either a dragonfly or a hammer that is green, is my current weekly time frame expectation for the week of May 13th. So far, we are on May 14th. So this should be forming that structure, but we'll of course see later on in the week once that comes to a closer end. But basically, on the intermediate wave, we had a really, really nice 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 structure wave up, and this should be over here. This should not be there. And from this 1 now, this so of course the 5 on the smaller degree becomes the bigger degree 1. Would I recommend coming out over the weekends? Yes, I would recommend coming over the weekends because it almost always gaps back into it, and it is really, really dangerous for your account, especially if you're over leveraged, to hold over the weekends. If you are not over leveraged, if you're very, very low leverage, it is definitely acceptable to hold over the weekend. So it's really a case-by-case basis, excuse me, on what exactly you should do. But it's really, as long as you don't mind basically posting on Instagram to show everyone that you had that really, really nice entry, it's definitely okay to exit over the weekends if you are, or even to stay in or exit, depending on how big your lot size is. So it's really personal choice that you'll have. You will be paying triple swap on any pair that you hold past Monday trade day. So basically, if you do have the weekend in your 3-day period after you close, if even if you close 1 minute after into the Wednesday one, then you will be on. Then 3 days later, 3 full days later, that will be past Friday at 2 p.m. local time. It'll be considered the weekend, even if it's just Friday at 2:01 even. And then you'd have to pay swap for Saturday and Sunday as well for that swap. So you do pay more swap if you do hold past Wednesday. And that's coming up in this next close anyways, but not a big deal. Swap isn't too huge of a deal usually. So it's just extra because it's triple. That's the only reason why it's even worth looking at. So again, we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave structure up on the intermediate wave. So on the primary wave, which is the degree above the intermediate wave, we have the 1. And then I do believe we had a 0, A, B, C. And I do believe the C has just finished, especially with this forming here. If I take all this off, you can see that this should be forming a really, really nice weekly candle for the buy position, hopefully. And if it does, then I would be expecting price to continue way up to here. So again, this is a pretty large ballpark estimate of where this should be, but just based on everything, I am expecting this to even go past the -618 just because it took so long, and I really do think it'll go even past 618. I probably will be taking out partials, or at least looking for somewhat of an exit if we are seeing that at the -618, but I am looking more so for the better exit there. So I do want to add on here a -1. I don't actually like the gray color. I'm gonna change the gray color. I don't like that color either. Let's try this pink. Nah, let's see. I don't want to be too picky, but all these don't look good. I like that one. I like that color. All right. So this is definitely a very strong possibility as to where wave structure 3 can be ending. And then we'll just see a very immediate, very, very short 4th wave structure down that will have an ABC in it still, so not too fast. Probably something more along the lines of that. Probably will take about 4 weeks or so, maybe 5 weeks to finish down here. And then we'll see a 5-wave continuation up after that. So I can even mark up the next one as well. So if this 3 is perfect, and that's a big if, I do not know if this 3 is perfect, then we are expecting the 5th wave to finish at least at a minimum at this 236 over here. More likely another extension, especially with this being the US30. US30 tends to have larger, the impulse waves among the 3rd wave and the 5th wave tend to be the larger ones, more so than the 1st wave. So this is very, very likely scenario. I do see the through wave being even higher than here is a very, very strong possibility. But I do like to have my minimums in there for when I'm marking up the charts. Yes, and this is on the uptrend. So this is the long-term picture of what I'm expecting to happen, and just to make sure that we're, oh, I'm going to go down a little bit, make this really, really large, move it over, and let's actually zoom in too. I'm going to take a picture for everyone so we can all have this for the Discord server. So this is the ballpark for now. I do like to give at least estimations of what I'm expecting. Unfortunately, I can't do too much because we're in the weekly, but I would say something along the lines of this is very likely. This should be an intermediate wave. And then again, very, very, oh, this went in the way. Very, very ballparky for the two. We should have something along the lines of maybe like this. As somewhat of a structure for the, again, for the intermediate wave as it decides to go up now. So that is something that I'm expecting. And then the same story again, another intermediate wave starting here. And I'll move this so the C is lower than that point. Do that and here. So let me move this so it's a little more clear. There we are, and I'll move this one as well. All right, so this is the general ballpark of what I'm expecting price to be doing in the near future. And if you do look at where this 5-wave structure is, or where even this 3-wave structure is, this is mid to late June, where I'm a ballpark, again, very, very ballpark. It could be past August even for this 3rd wave. There's really no time defined, exact time when the 3rd wave has to finish. But just as a ballpark, at earliest, I would expect it to be in mid-June at the very earliest, where to finish the primary 3rd wave. So this is taking a lot longer than normal for this image URL. There we go. And I'll go ahead and copy paste this into the chat and also onto the Discord server. I'll just put this in Trade Talks. So, okay. And now that should be in the Discord server as well. So just so in case we want to look at this at a later time and see how accurate this actually ended up being. So nothing is guaranteed, of course, but this is ballpark what I am expecting for this trade scenario to play out. So this is generally what I wanted to show you on today's session. Essentially, there's a couple of things that could happen. Again, both of those two possible counts. With this either is the C, or we could be seeing an even lower C in the near future. Obviously, this is a missed C. I would not recommend chasing the trade, especially not as much as it's already moved. From the C to current price, it's already moved $96, and in my opinion, that's not worth chasing. However, if you were to get a discount from last C, of the 618, and that would be a discount of $123. That would be potentially worth an entry, as long as we also see other confluence for the buy at the same area. Some other confluence could include things like doji structure, a double bottom, tweezer bottoms, a perfect hit off of the 618, and also different time frames among all of those things. So this is including the 5-minute, 15-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily structure, all with that same level there. So that being said, this is going to wrap up the US30 analysis. I hope you enjoyed my analysis for this. And if you're in the buy, I do think that you should be, as long as you're patient enough to potentially hold out for the C, you should be in the good position for this. So I'll see you tomorrow in the next episode.